Hi, I'm Ola, and this is the Nucleus Orchestral Core from Audio Imperia. I've talked before about virtual instruments like drums, bass, and even piano, and that's something that I use a lot when I'm writing songs or working with music. However, one thing that I haven't really talked about are the orchestral instruments. If you have listened to my music, you probably heard it here and there. I like to use it to create some more atmosphere and just enhance an emotion of a certain part of a song and so on. There's just something about adding strings to a clean passage or add a choir to lift an already kick-ass chorus. Now the problem with the orchestral sample instruments are that the really good ones out there are extremely expensive to buy, and also you need to allocate half a terabyte to fit them in your setup and your computer. It's just really a nightmare to work with, basically. But today I'm trying out the Nucleus, the Orchestral Core, a sample library that contains all the orchestral instruments you need, catered for the first timer as well as the pro users. It also works for the free version of Kontakt Player. It has the strings, it has the cello, double basses and so on, woodwinds, brass, percussion, and what I tend to use the most, choirs. It also contains a couple of drone and pad sounds as well. And even though you get all of this, it clocks in at 20 gigabytes in hardware drive size, so it's small enough to fit in your laptop for a small writing setup. Just before I start, I'm not a pro when it comes to, samples and virtual instruments, and I have no idea how to work and arrange orchestral instruments. So this is some sort of an idiot guide to using this plugin. So I've loaded up a virtual instrument track in Logic Pro X. Here's the Kontakt Player. So to add Nucleus to the Kontakt sample player, you click on it. So here you can pick and choose what type of sound you want. You can go from, solo instruments and to full ensembles, basically. Let's start with a string ensemble here. So strings, full. Okay. Spooky. Meow. And as you can see here, the layout of this instrument is very simple, I must say. Usually with instruments like this, it can be very intimidating to look at, but this is just really simple. I can pick either basic or advanced mode, and if I click the advanced mode, it opens up a couple of options that might be interesting to talk about later. Let's go back to basic, like that, and here's the string ensemble I'm using. So there's a couple different modes you can pick in the string ensemble as well. So you have sustain notes, so notes, spiccato, wow, Ola, so good with the keyboard, shit, pizzicato, and tremolo, so. A little dramatic there. All right, let's switch to a solo instrument. Okay, oboe. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, shit. I'm playing in legato mode, which means the transition between notes should be optimal. And if you check it out here, I can't play two notes at the same time. So we'll only make a transition, making that legato round. Okay, the flute. Beautiful. So that was the legato mode. But you can also use the sustain mode, so you can All right, let's pick the cello. I'm a big fan of the cello, man. Listen to that. Oh. Did you hear that? That transition was nice. Yeah, this is probably as close to a real cello that I've ever heard on a virtual instrument. And you know, with the modulation, I mean, the transition between the different notes sounds so natural in a sense. So it's really impressive, actually. All right, so let's go into advanced mode for this. So some of the settings you can change here depends on the instrument you have. But for this cello, you have dynamics, which is basically this, where I'm working with the modulation wheel. So if I have a choir sound and raise the modulation wheel, it adds a little bit of vibrato, which is cool. So you have the dynamics, that's what I control with the modulation wheel. Then you have dynamic range, you have expression, and then we have something called sample start. The sample start is basically a compensation for when the sample should start. For say, if you look at a sample note of a cello, it's not as direct as if you would, you know, pluck a guitar string. There's a whole lot of things happening before you get the attack of the cello note. Now, if you cut the sample to make the note perfectly in time, for instance, you will lose a lot of natural attack from that note and that sample. So say if I set the sample start to 0, the sample responds quicker and the note responds more direct, but it doesn't sound as natural. If you dial it back to like 125 milliseconds, you get the full spectrum of the full sample and it just sounds way more natural. So it's just a really good dial to set the tone of the different instruments depending on what type of intensity you want in your orchestra. So that's a really cool little knob there. And also you have a reverb dial. I can just do this for days. All right, so I built up this little orchestra part for a song of mine, Blodspår, a song that's from the latest Feared album, Svart. And let us listen a little bit to this. So, as you can see, this is the original track down here. Sounds like this. And then you have a little extra things here. So I took the liberty to arrange a little bit of a orchestra for you. So let's check this out. So that's the choir, strings. We start with the choir, just a little choir over the... Very simple, working the modulation wheel, to get that vibrato at the end. Then we have the string section. So strings, bass, so bass strings. Then we have the top strings. Then, last but not least, the horns. Then adding a choir. To me, this sounds absolutely awesome. It's actually kind of stupid how a male guy like me can do something like this. So, I mean, what I like about this sample library is that it's just so easy to get going right away. I just load it all up and it sounds good no matter what. Usually when I do orchestral parts for songs, I have to EQ a ton just to make everything fit together. But it feels like the Nucleus has taken account for being just a quick plug-and-play instrument. And for me as a songwriter, sampling libraries creeps the hell out of me. But Nucleus feels a little bit more welcoming, I would say. I think I personally never been able to get this real sounding when using an orchestral library, and I'm definitely seeing this being used a fair bit in my upcoming projects. If you want more information about the Nucleus Orchestral Core, check out audioimperia.com. For the YouTube members on my channel, you're getting this project with all this arranged for you. You can try it out and check it out yourself. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys.